Poland for that statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Madam Chair, we would like to thank the Undersecretary General of the UN, Rosemary DiCarlo, and also Jean-Pierre Lacroix for their substantive briefings on the situation in the Syrian Golan. We consider it necessary to point out the following. As a result of the efforts undertaken by the Syrian government with the Russian assistance in coordination with regional and international partners, the situation in the Syrian Golan in 2018 in the summer was significantly changed and stabilized. The remaining obstacle for the full implementation of the UN force is the lack in the area of operations of the existence in that area of the terrorist groups. That was eradicated. Also, there was one of the security challenges that was eradicated to Israel and the UN staff. And a success there was exclusively thanks to the cooperation between the regional players. In contacts with the agreement on disengagement, we also provide the necessary conditions to have the full functioning of the UN operation. An important role in this process is played by the Russian police unit there. Thanks to the efforts of the Syrian side, work has been renewed on moving between the Alpha and Bravo sides in Konica, and that is another important point in normalizing the situation and bringing it back to the pre-crisis situation. In order to speed up a full deployment of the mission in the Golan, there is ongoing work on mine clearance. The UN force historically has been an effective mechanism to decrease tension, to prevent incidents and de-escalation, and also to settle different claims between Israel and Syria. This mechanism in the future should be able to provide potential for building trust between the parties too. It is unacceptable for seeing this positive trend and unilateral steps to undermine that. This not only exacerbates the situation in Syria and complicates the establishment of a political process, but it also creates serious obstacles to normalizing the relations between Israel and the Arab states. And despite the opinions and the warnings from the international and regional levels, the USA formally pronounced Israel's sovereignty over the occupied Syrian Golan. We confirm that such steps not only violate the norms of international law, furthermore, they violate the Security Council resolutions. It goes against the very principle of land for peace that was developed during the Madrid Peace Conference with the co-sponsorship of the Russian Federation and the US. Furthermore, it in and of itself worsens situations regarding the Arab peace initiatives that was adopted in 2002 by Arab states that has historic significance in terms of paving the way to achieve a comprehensive and fair and lasting Middle East settlement. The position of Russia remains unchanged. The Golan Heights are part of the Syrian Arab Republic. They were occupied by Israel in 1967, and then after that they were illegally annexed. We strictly stick to Security Council Resolution 497 that calls for the jurisdiction of to be restored by Syria, and stating that any other has no legal force whatsoever. It is null and void and without international legal effect. And the international community does support this approach as well. The General Assembly each year in support of this adopts resolutions regarding the occupied Syrian Golan. regarding the cessation of the occupation, these matters should be discussed within the Middle East settlement through direct negotiations based on existing internationally recognized bases. It is hard to deny that any political workings have any role to play here. We are concerned that the unilateral decision can not only complicate a prospect for finding a comprehensive settlement in the Middle East, but furthermore, it might lead to instability, worsening instability in the region. The negative reaction from the Arab world has confirmed this kind of worrisome forecast. We are very concerned to note that the decision on the Golan really does fulfill the bleak picture of unilateral steps undertaken by the US over recent times. They also have the Iraq, the breaking of the JPCOA, which violates 2231, the Security Council resolution, and that really upset the situation in the world. The transfer of the embassy to Jerusalem, which violates decisions on the status of that city, which is very fundamental and is extremely sensitive for all the representatives of the monotheistic religions. The Kosovo army and the US position on that the 1244 clearly stipulates that a multinational force, and that alone needs to be present in the province. So if anybody feels any temptation to follow this poor example, we would urge them to refrain from this aggressive revision of international law that, as the UN Charter, remains and will always remain the only framework for civilized conduct of states within the system of international relations. The world's response to the unilateral approach taken and the lack of legal basis here confirms our conclusion that the arbitrarily established world rules is doomed to failure and has no future whatsoever. We would urge restraint from this kind of approach and imposing artificial concepts on other states. We'd like to highlight that the unilateral decision of the US, for whatever reason it was taken, does not change any international legal decisions on the whole range of issues pertaining to the Middle Eastern settlement. We fully agree with the UN Secretary General, namely the status of the Syrian Golan has unchanged because it is enshrined in the relevant Security Council resolutions. Returning to a respect for international law is absolutely crucial. And in terms of what the US stated in terms of confirming the objective, and it would bring US back to its previous role as a fair, honest broker that cooperates fairly and honestly with regional and international players. And that would help to make a significant contribution to improving the Syrian-Israeli settlement issues and other issues through direct relations based on international legal decisions and through the Arab Peace Initiative. Thank you very much indeed.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for that